So, you've probably heard all the buzz about Web3, right? But have you ever tried to actually, use it and just felt like you've slammed into a brick wall of pure confusion? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. The tech promises this amazing, decentralized future, but for most of us, it's still a total mystery. So, what's the deal? Let's get into it. And that's the big question, isn't it? Why is this stuff so intimidating? We hear all these terms thrown around. dApps, which, by the way, is just a fancy way of saying decentralized apps, or DeFi for decentralized finance. But when you go to actually use them, wow, it feels like you need a PhD just to get started. And that's the real problem right there. You've got this incredibly powerful, potentially world-changing technology on one hand, but it's wrapped up in an experience that's confusing, clunky, and honestly, a little bit scary for the average person. Okay, so this leads us straight into our first big topic. Web3 has a major usability problem. And look, this isn't about the code or the big ideas behind it. It's all about how people are expected to interact with it. I like to think of it as the Web3 wall. And this wall is built out of a few things, right? You've got these crazy complex interfaces, a ton of jargon that only insiders get, and this constant nagging fear that you're going to click the wrong button and make a costly, irreversible mistake. That lack of trust, it's a huge, huge roadblock for mainstream adoption. So how do we start tearing down that wall? Well, the answer might be a bit more straightforward than you'd expect. It really all comes down to design. We're talking about user interface and user experience design, UI and UX. And this is the key takeaway right here. Good design is the bridge. It's the thing that's going to connect millions of everyday people to the incredible power of Web3. And we're not just talking about making things look pretty. It's about making them clear, intuitive, and something you can actually trust. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You've got two different worlds. On one side, there's the current state of Web3 for a lot of folks. Confusing, feels super risky, and seems like it's only for the tech geniuses. But on the other side, that's the goal. A Web3 that's clear, feels secure, and is genuinely for everyone. And design? Design is the engine that gets us there. All right, so let's get practical. How does this actually work? We're going to look at a few specific spots where design is making a massive difference, turning these really complex systems into something we can all get a handle on. First up, let's talk about dApps, those decentralized applications. I mean, think of them as the apps of the Web3 world, right? They run on a blockchain instead of some company's server. The big problem has always been that using them, well, the user interface has been a major hurdle for pretty much anyone new to the space. So the goal here is pretty simple. Make using a dApp feel as easy as any other app on your phone. It's about taking the mental work out of it, you know? This means designing interfaces where the next step is just obvious, creating a clear path for you to follow, and building in little visual cues that make every interaction feel secure and predictable. No more guessing games. Okay, next up, crypto wallets. Now, this is where things get really serious for people, because this is where you manage your actual assets. Trust here isn't just important, it's everything. So how does design build that trust? Well, by simplifying the whole transaction process, for one, by making security features super obvious and easy to understand, and by actually guiding new users through the setup instead of just throwing them in the deep end. All of this helps lower that fear and confusion that keeps so many people away. And for our last example, let's jump into the world of DeFi, decentralized finance. You know, the whole movement to rebuild things like lending and borrowing on the blockchain. Now, if you've ever glanced at a DeFi dashboard, you know what I'm talking about. It can feel like an absolute flood of numbers and charts. This is where great design works its magic, turning that data chaos into pure clarity. It's about using things like data visualization to help our brains instantly grasp complex information, something we just can't do by staring at rows of numbers. A good design helps you actually understand the risks and rewards, and it sets up the whole flow to help you make smarter, more informed decisions with your money. Okay, so we've seen what design can do, but what about the how? It's not just some magic trick, it's a really deliberate process. It's a blueprint for building that trust and usability from the ground up. It all follows a really clear path. You always start with research. I mean, you have to deeply understand what people actually need and where they're getting stuck. Then you move into design and prototyping, where those ideas start to become real and visual. And finally, and this is maybe the most critical part, you test it. You test it with real users to find and fix all the problems before the product ever sees the light of day. And when you actually follow that process, it does way more than just create a nice-looking app.
It literally paves the road for mass adoption by delivering some very real, very tangible benefits.
The first and most obvious one, faster user adoption. I mean, it's just common sense, right? When a product is intuitive and easy to use, more people are going to use it. The learning curve flattens out and the user base just grows. Second, you get stronger user trust. A clear, professional-looking interface just feels more transparent and secure. It gives you the confidence that the platform is legit and that your assets are safe, which, as we've said, is absolutely essential in the Web3 world. And finally, for the businesses building these things, it all leads to a higher return on investment. A great user experience means people stick around longer, they engage more, and ultimately that creates a stronger, more valuable platform for everyone. There's a quote from the source material that just nails it. Effective design helps businesses turn complexity into usable, trusted experiences. I mean, that's the whole mission in a nutshell, isn't it? Taking this powerful but messy technology and making it finally, truly work for people. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The technology itself is always going to be evolving, of course. But is it possible that this focus on user-centric design is the real key? The final missing link we've been looking for to unlock the full potential of Web3 for all of us.